Hi, my name is Alyssa Merkle, and I am going to be representing Wells Fargo and explaining where it has failed on the dimension of quality of management. In March 1852, Henry Wells and William Fargo founded Wells, Fargo and Company. Initially, Wells and Fargo created a stagecoach transportation business that eventually turned into a successful banking business. Wells Fargo branches all over the country have quoted Wells in saying, "There is one very powerful business rule. It is concentrated in the word courtesy." Courtesy and service were once the foundation that Wells Fargo stood on. However, in 2016, it was found that management turned their back on this belief. Wells Fargo management did not treat their subordinates with the courtesy Wells and Fargo had intended. Management in 2016 pressured employees to achieve unrealistic sales targets and terminated employees who failed to meet these expectations. Management created a results-driven culture, leading to illegal activity and unethical practices. Each year, Fortune magazine publishes a most admired list of the top companies in the United States using the 8 dimensions displayed. Although there is an argument for failure within almost all 8 dimensions, the lackluster quality of management was truly brought to light when unethical practices and illegal activity surfaced in the scandal. Quality management is the act of overseeing all activities and tasks that must be accomplished to maintain a desired level of excellence. This includes the determination of a quality policy, creating and implementing quality planning and assurance, and quality control and quality improvement. Quality managers ensure that vision and mission is being followed while providing coaching when needed. Quality managers also help facilitate positive social learning and understanding of shared values. Managers were faced with public scrutiny over the harmful leadership practices that were allowed to continue for over a decade. Leadership set employees up for failure by having unrealistic expectations, disconnected values and motives, a lack of strategy and oversight, ineffective compliance training, and an overall lack of accountability when challenged. The actual quality of management within the ranks at Wells Fargo did not meet the standards that outside competitors were meeting. Management at Wells Fargo failed to ensure organizational culture supported positive values and sales strategy among the branches, resulting in public scandal. A flawed incentivized-based compensation program inspired countless occurrences of fraud and theft. The immense pressure placed on employees to reach sales targets fostered a culturally learned deviance throughout the branches. The former CEO, John Stumpf, set an overly ambitious sales goal that were 4 times higher than competitor goals at the time. Employees reported struggles meeting sales targets, however, complaints remained unanswered. Employees were caught creating over 1.5 million false deposit accounts and 500,000 false credit card accounts illegally without account holder knowledge. Often, illegal credit accounts caused incurred fees and negatively influenced customer credit scores, potentially impacting lending rates and costing individuals thousands. A quality manager would stop such a practice. However, employees participating in negative behavior were meeting sales goals and were rewarded with financial incentives. Employees who did not meet targeted sales were counseled and had their jobs threatened, if not terminated. Not surprisingly, as rigid sales goals were introduced to the branches, terminations and accusations of unethical practices grew. Additionally, retention was extremely low, losing 41% of employees in just 1 year. The board of directors had over 700 whistleblower complaints by 2010. However, they still failed to prevent and act on ethical issues within the organizational culture before it became extensive. The resulting fraud was made public after nearly a decade of illegal activity had been continually occurring. After the Wells Fargo financial scandal was made public, the CEO fired 5,300 lower-level employees and 2 managers for their involvement in the alleged accusations. The board and CEO refused to acknowledge faults in their leadership style and toxic culture, and they found a scapegoat within the lower ranks of their employees. The neutralization of senior management fault set an example for mid-level managers to do the same. Senator Elizabeth Warren called the move gutless. Customers tried to dispute the false accounts under their name. However, Wells Fargo attempted to use arbitration provisions in consumer contracts to avoid liability. By failing to take responsibility early on, Wells Fargo lost an opportunity for organizational learning and a chance to create measures that would have prevented unethical behavior. An opportunity to learn and train on past mistakes would have created higher quality managers for the future. As a result of such a public display of loss of trust and refusal to admit any wrongdoing, Wells Fargo executives saw an immediate reduction in customer traffic, deposits, and new accounts. Additionally, larger organizations removed themselves from the corporate banking structure, causing Wells Fargo to lose millions. 9 days after the public scandal, stock value dropped 10%. Leadership's deception to their stakeholders have created a sinking hole that, if not improved, will only continue to grow larger if they do not earn back trust. Executives inbred financial incentives within its sales target structure. However, employees were still required to report number of products sold to individual account holders. Employees were frozen within the deep-rooted unrealistic expectations, and retention has not fully improved. Wells Fargo is working to rebuild their organizational structure, design, and culture by creating new positions and seeking out quality managers to join their team. As of February 2020, Wells Fargo publicly announced organizational structural changes, creating a flatter line of business. Management now has clear authority, accountability, and responsibility within company structure. There are now 5 business CEOs that report to the current CEO, and each business CEO is now represented on a committee of operations in order to better oversee risk management. The new position, the Sales Practices Oversight and Management role, will monitor ethical sales practices, analytics, and reporting across the company. A group focused on strategy and innovation has also been introduced in 2020. Wells Fargo is actively pursuing a search for the group's leader. The organizational restructure and new strategy committee is aimed to prevent previous organizational design flaws. Culture, however, will take longer to rectify within the company. Senior leaders are seeking consistent feedback from employees and investing in individual team members by offering higher pay, team incentives, and better insurance. Wells Fargo has additionally provided clarity of behavioral expectations and are attempting to create programs with the goal to empower individual employees to aid in risk management practices. Although Wells Fargo is making positive movements towards creating a stronger presence of quality managers by restructuring structure, design, and culture, it will still take time and consistency for stakeholders to fully trust that the company has shareholder interests in mind. Continued commitment toward the hiring and training of management and leadership will be key in attaining the highest level of quality. We're committed to the highest standards of integrity, transparency, and principled performance. We do the right thing in the right way and hold ourselves accountable. Wells Fargo's code of ethics was clearly ineffective or perceived ineffective by employees. Former employees of Wells Fargo claimed that the code of ethics was placed below sales objectives in order of importance. In this case, Wells Fargo far from embodied the values of conscious culture and leadership because the employees were willing to deceive stakeholders in order to remain in good standing with sales expectations. Organizational function would suffer if the company continued to allow illegal activities and behavior to occur. To improve true productivity and function within the organization's culture, stakeholders need to concentrate on the traits that inspired the detrimental behavior. Using a conscious style of leadership and managing with the code of ethics in mind is the start needed in order to earn trust. Today, leadership is taking a much more conscious approach by increasing manager training in ethical leadership and risk management. Wells Fargo is also showing compassion for employees by ensuring that sales pressure has dissolved in branches and promoting a more value-focused path towards service and evaluation. The continuation of such practices, partnered with full transparency, will likely improve organizational function. Using Kotter's 8-step change model, I will provide suggestions to encourage quality management growth. First, start with creating a sense of urgency. This needs to be done through an immediate unfreezing and cultural detox. The goal of unfreezing is to help employees overcome their natural resistance to letting go. Unfreezing starts by encouraging employees to realize that their position and in the company itself is threatened unless there is necessary and immediate change. This step cannot be glazed over. Kotter suggests that at least 75% of company management needs to be convinced to change. You also need to build a guiding coalition, finding a diverse group of influential people. Work with your human resources department to find accountable and trusted advisors that support change and company values. Work on employee empowerment and buy-in. You also need to form a strategic vision and initiatives. Inspire a coalition to participate in decision-making on issues that directly concern their work. Presenting strategy without employee participation will not enhance involvement. You must include people in the creation of strategy and core values. The coalition should be able to recite a short summary of your core values in 1 to 2 sentences. You need to communicate your vision. Frequently communicate your core vision and use it in conversation, decision-making, and problem-solving. Lead by example in order to help unfreeze prior negative cultures and habits. Employees at Wells Fargo did not feel respected or heard because former leadership disregarded challenge and critique. Be ready to address apprehension and concerns honestly. You need to enable action by removing obstacles in your way. Analyze current organizational structures for vision alignment or challenge. Rather than rewarding harmful behavior at Wells Fargo, begin rewarding employees who are making change happen. At Wells Fargo, employees will need a well-designed approach to make respectful critiques and ethical reporting. Employees will also need to commit to a new system of metrics that represent accurate strategy and value alignment. One single metric, especially one that is tied to financial gains, would put the organization at risk to fall into the same scandal it is trying to overcome. Generate short-term wins. Quick wins are needed to motivate continued momentum in the direction of positive change. Leadership needs to build morale and to award positive behavior, showing that new changes are beneficial. Rewards should soften the former tone at the top, and leadership participation within the community and subcultures in the organization. You need to also sustain your acceleration. Once organizational confidence is built up through short-term wins, leaders need to bring long-term goals to light. Set collaborative goals to continue momentum towards change. In order to ensure subgroups within the organization are still on the current path forward, you must analyze every win for improvement and success. Continue to show a leadership presence so that employees feel supported and so there is no inconsistency between top leaders and lower level employees. Institute change. Losing supportive management might bring Wells Fargo back to where it started. When hiring and training, always circle back to core values and ideals. Success stories should be communicated at any opportunity in order to remind stakeholders about the positive outcomes that have resulted from continued progress towards meeting the core values. There are potential challenges throughout this 8-step model. Your first is going to be the board of directors. Because the board of directors and top leadership ignored red flags for over a decade, a structure needs to be in place in order to ensure that investigative measures are implemented when necessary. This can be accomplished within Cotter's change model. However, the current advisors and board of directors need to support the structural change and remain consistent with accurate risk management. Current members of upper-level management need to ensure that they have enough personal time to devote to their duties, and that individuals are committed to the organizational values before agreeing to continue in their position. Replacements should be made if current leadership is not dedicated to the shared vision and values as a core motivator for decision-making and problem-solving. There's also a subsystem realignment that is needed. With unfortunate oversight and lack of support from executives, each branch likely formed a subgroup with its own unique set of values and norms. Wells Fargo will need to spend efforts focusing on creating a sense of urgency within the branches and especially with each branch's leader. The overall coalition should comprise of diverse levels of leadership. Employees have already been faced with inconsistent communication from leaders. New management will have to embody core values and remain extremely consistent when modeling behavior within the organization. Last, trust is going to be one of the biggest challenges. Unfortunately, trust is not earned quickly. Stakeholders have been harmed because of the quality of management entrusted with upholding Wells' original philosophy and vision. Management will improve their level of quality by convincing stakeholders that they are true to their word and that their communicated values will be in line with their actions. The lack of conscious leadership within the organization has negatively impacted all stakeholders. There's a belief that management leads out of fear or because of their status or title within the company. A quality leader will understand that the wounds are still fresh within the company, and leading with legitimate influence and aggressive conflict management would not be met with support. Wells Fargo will need a transformational leader who is motivated by change and who also leads with referent and charismatic power. Using a high level of emotional intelligence and conscious leadership principles will be necessary to inspire trustworthiness within the individual branches and subgroups of Wells Fargo.